Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ask the Pastors. Here with Pastor Todd as we just discuss some topics and issues as leaders of this church, and we've got a great one today, a really interesting one today. And so I get the privilege of leading membership class, and so I've heard this come up before, and so I thought it'd be good for us just to address it. So we know how to join a church. Every church does it differently, but it seems like every church has a process. So here's the question. How should one leave a church? How should a member of a church leave?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you said you've had people ask you that?
I have, yeah. We've talked about that in membership class before.
Because interestingly, no one's ever asked me that question. Okay. They have asked me the first one, like, how can I join? But I don't think anyone's really ever said, hey, how should I leave this church?
I'm not sure I had a great answer, but it's an interesting question.
I want to first say that I think it's a difficult thing to work out, unfortunately, because you have a lot of emotion involved.
Yep.
But let me just explain how I think one should not leave.
Yeah.
And you can comment on this. I think we'll agree.
Yep.
And if we don't, it's okay.
Yep.
There's probably multiple ways you don't want to leave a church. Here's one of the worst is, you know that the Lord's, I'm going to assume that the intentions are good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That the Lord's actually leading you to find a different body.
Okay.
So you and your wife, or you talk about it, and you decide, well, let's go visit. And so you visit, X church for a week or two, Y church for a week or two. You compare. You go to Z church, and you take 5-6 weeks. In the meantime, no one sees you at your current church.
You're gone from the,
And you would say, well, we're not mad. We just are checking it out. But then what happens often is people believe the best. So they say, well, they're probably going on vacation. They may be here. And so they don't really call. Then those who are visiting around can sometimes accuse the church, like, well, man, we were gone and nobody called us.
No one cared about me.
And so it's this, it breeds this environment of suddenly there's unintentional accusations. So I think the worst way to leave is what I would call like in a secret manner,
Yep.
So and that's typically what happens, by the way. People leave, they check things out because they don't have perhaps I don't want to say courage, but perhaps it's just emotional to go to someone and say, hey, listen, we're thinking about visiting around. But in reality, Travis, that's the way to leave a church. Tell your pastors first.
That's right.
So can I repeat that?
Absolutely.
That regardless of what church you're attending as a member, ours or someone else's, if you're thinking the Lord is leading you somewhere else, tell your pastors first.
Do you think they're afraid to tell us because of hurt? Like they assume like, man, you will be hurt by that news or I'll be hurt by news. So let's not make anybody aware of it until we made a decision. Yeah.
And I said, I want to approach this with good intentions. I think that's true on both ends. It's not like we like to hear it.
Nope.
And I'm sure they don't want to say it, but if the Lord's in it, we have to have the honesty, authenticity to just say, hey, here's what God's doing in my heart.
That's right.
And I know that we've had several over the 18 years here come to me and say that, and it's always gone great. They've laid out their reasoning, how the Lord's leading, and it's been a very good, like, hey, thanks. The door's always open for you if you want to come back. And some have come back. Yeah. Some have found the right church that fit them better and landed well. What's hard is when you do then find out, oh, so-and-so's been visiting at so-and-so church, and then you call them, and they feel badly.
Yep. Feel caught.
Trapped, and you feel like, well, I wasn't trying to call you out. I just wish you'd have told me earlier. So I think that happens a lot, and not just, I think that happens in every church. And so on behalf of pastors and members, can we just encourage members, tell your pastors they're not going to be hurt near as much.
Nope.
Or even disappointed or let down. If you do it that way, then it's in 5 or 6 weeks, you meet suddenly and they say where you've been, or they call you and you have to kind of say, well, that's even more awkward. And to be quite frank, probably more hurtful.
And it's good information for us. You can start a dialogue on why. Okay, you're checking out other churches. I'd love to be in the loop and to know why. Even if they land here or at the current church again, it's good to know what's kind of going in their heart and their head as we shepherd them. Let us know kind of what's going on.
It really is. Now, this brings up another question that we can't answer today, and that is, why should someone leave a church?
Right.
So we're not answering that today. Here are hearts. The assumption is that it is a legitimate reason, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And not every pastor agrees with me on this. I'm not sure even where you land. I believe there are legitimate reasons that one can find a different church even in the same city.
Yep.
I've heard the view that once you're in a church, you shouldn't leave until you die. And that's another topic, another question.
Yep.
But assuming legitimate reasons that things are right, the way to leave a church is tell your pastors first. Don't visit anywhere until you talk to them.
That's good.
And then you have the freedom, I believe, and the room to begin to explore. You can tell the new church what's going on.
Yep.
Your current church can speak well of you to its current members.
Yep.
It's just the best way to leave a church. So how's that for an answer?
I completely agree. I think that's very helpful. And yeah, we won't be hurt by it. That's good.